out on another walk today, and I think it's going to be a mixed day, to be truthful. Forecast says showery and sunny periods, so I'm kind of not holding up too much expectations, but I guess that's fairly normal at the moment for southern England. Anyway, you may have recognised where we've just been walking, because I've decided to start the walk with a circuit of Fontmell Down. We're in North Dorset. I've parked on Spreadeagle viewpoint parking area, and we're going to do a walk looking for bluebells. But since I'm there, and since Fontmell Down is such an amazing place to walk with these fantastic views that you get all across the valley, I decided I would do a circuit of the Downs, although we didn't need to. So I'm actually walking about 1.5 miles probably all around Fontmell Down in order to gain a couple of 100 yards on my main walk. But hey, it's got to be worth it. It's amazing, isn't it? And it's actually quite a nice morning so far. Fair bit of sunshine, but it's quite chilly. It's a chill breeze, so it is quite chilly. In fact, it's mid-April, but I was thinking earlier it's kind of almost like it's kind of January, February temperatures at the moment here, with the wind chill. Almost get to the point where I think I need gloves. Well, never mind. It's great to be out again. Of course, I'm also expecting that it's potentially going to be a little bit early for bluebells. They are out, but mid-April. I don't know, I kind of think maybe another week or two before the woodland bluebells are fully out. But I don't know, you can never actually tell. In fact, I don't actually know what dictates when bluebells are in full bloom. I assume it's probably warmth. So if we get a warm spring, the bluebells would be early. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that it's because of a lot of rain, because if it's a lot of rain that makes bluebells come early, then to be honest, they've probably come and gone. But I don't think it is. I think it's warmth. Anyway, we'll see. There's bluebells along the way. There's lovely old woodlands, some interesting tracks, lovely little village we're going to call in at. So it promises to be a good day. Although I've got my waterproof on because I'm expecting some rain. Although Murphy's Law says it's when you take your waterproof off that the rain comes. So hey, let's keep it on, and maybe it'll work the other way around. It'll keep the rain away. Anyway, it'll be a great walk, and I hope you're going to join me along the way for at least a virtual walk. And I'll tell you all about what we pass as we go. And it's great to be out here. Really is awesome. we reached the first interesting thing on this walk, and that is a ditch with two banks, one on either side, and it's a feature of this area. And these are cross dikes. I think I've mentioned them actually in a previous video. They're found on uplands over 500 feet usually, which is what this is, of course. We're on a upland, and they go back, some of these go back to the Bronze Age, so it's ancient, and there's a bit of mystery about it because there is some divergence of opinion as to what they were. There's a suggestion that they were defensive, and they do look like defensive ramparts, to be fair, and there was potential. I think sometimes there was a palisade along the top of one of the banks, or shrubs would be the other option. They could have been droveways, allowing people to drive their cattle along these, so ancient tracks. Or, and the most popular thought I think, is that they are ancient land boundaries, so these would mark the boundary to someone's land, and that's the most popular thought, I think. But I think it's just the fact that we don't actually know, and that there is this difference of opinion that to me makes it fascinating. And these are particularly well defined. There's a lot of these around Fontmell Down area, but they are particularly well defined. Yeah, and I think it's just the mystery of them that I think is interesting, and the fact they've been here since potentially the Bronze Age, I think that's just amazing. Actually makes sense to me that cross dikes are maybe both a land boundary, ancient land boundary, and some kind of drove trail or track for people to use. So maybe they mark the boundary between two lots of land and also create a track that people or cattle can use to go to market or whatever. Seems logical to me, but hey, if the experts can't formally decide, no, I don't know. Don't think there's much hope with me deciding. I can only add my own little conjecture on it. Anyway, they're interesting, and there's a lot of gorse out here. Lovely yellow colours. That's a nice blue sky. Good combination. And this is a lovely valley. We've featured this valley before in a previous video, so I'll put a link up above to that video because it's in this same area. So if you enjoy this walk, you'll enjoy that one too. Such an amazing track to walk, I always think, across the Fontmell Down Nature Reserve. Just walking across the end of the valley and looking down at the view. It's amazing. I just love it. bit later we'll probably see some orchids along here, but we're definitely too early in the year for, well, I don't see any. I think we're not sure even the early orchids will be out quite yet. Look at that, it's wonderful. And it's not often you'll find a cairn in Dorset. Not sure I've seen any apart from this one on Fontmill Down. I don't know. Try that again. So we've done our loop of Fontmill Down. It was around about 1.5 to 2 miles, that loop, and then I've headed along the top of the ridge for a short distance before I crossed over the Spreadeagle road, and I'm now walking down through Fontmill Woods, which is a rather nice woodland, mixed woodland. There's some conifers, but there's also some broadleaf as well. And of course there's ramsons as well. They're not fully in flower yet. I always think this is a lovely valley as well. Can't get through there because it's gated and marked private, but we will come across it later because we will cross over the far side of this valley, so I'll tell you about it then. At the moment we're heading down the valley bottom track to go across the road and then head into another bottom. This one is called Stubhampton Bottom, and that's a lovely little path down through the valley. So we've crossed the road and we're now walking down through Stubhampton Bottom, and this is easy walking down here because this is actually Forestry Commission land. So we have some made up roads at the moment, or semi made up, which is nice easy walking. Actually gets more interesting, I think, as we go further down. But the sun's going to come out again. That's very nice. Isn't it lovely to see some spring foliage in the trees? Just autumn. I love spring. I love the fresh greens as they break out. Everything's so pure, I think, in spring. And a bit of sunshine really makes it come alive. So this is where we branch off the forestry track, I think, because that's the main forestry track goes up there. But we are going to follow this smaller track that continues down Stubhampton Bottom. And you can see from the look of these trees that this is a big coppice area, or was at one time. So this would have been a hive of activity, I guess. People making staves and various poles and woodwork for firewood and all sorts of things. Interesting, I think, interesting industry, the coppice industry. And it's a shame really that there aren't many coppice woods that are now maintained. This is another coppice area, but this one's interesting because it's actually called hanging coppice. So when I first saw that, I thought, oh, must be something gruesome went on here. It must be that there was a gallows or something down here at one time, hence the name hanging coppice. But that's actually not true at all. It has nothing to do with hanging. In fact, the name actually comes from an Old English word, which is I think it's hangende or something like that, and it actually means land on a steep slope. So hanging coppice, but no hanging, just a steep slope. I thought it was interesting. Another little fact. We're going to take a little detour here. Oh, although it might not be possible. Let's have a look. I was going to take a detour up there because I love this old wood. It's ancient. It's craggy and it's fur coated and it's covered in lichen and moss, and I was going to go up in there and do some filming, and there's bluebells in amongst it, but I see a fence has been added since I explored in there last, so it may not be possible. Let's go and have a look. And the rain's coming down. Yeah, it's a shame. I used to be able to get in here and walk around in amongst these trees, because I like these furry trees, ancient woodlands. But as you can see, they've put fences up all around it now, so we can't get in there like we used to. It's a pity. Look at that. What a wonderful old tree that is. It's amazing. But he could tell some stories. You can see the bluebells in there. Anyway, back to the path that we were on after our little detour. And you can see here that we've actually joined at this point the Wessex Ridgeway path, which we will be following for a short distance. And on our left here is Ashmore Woods, and we are going to now leave Stubhampton Bottom. The path continues straight on along the valley floor, but we are going to take a left and follow the Wessex Ridgeway path that skirts around Ashmore Woods. And this is another really lovely path. I always enjoy walking this, especially in spring, because the path is lined with ramsons, wild garlic, bluebells. They're a bit sparse at the moment, but also there's some really old wonderful trees up here. Look at this old stager. I tell you what, he's even older than I am. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Noisy pheasants. And this one's here like his brother. Oh, that's absolutely amazing how hollow that is. There's hardly anything left of it, and yet it's still in foliage. That's just such an awesome tree. there's a third old tree. Broken up, split in two completely. But still growing in amongst the bluebells. We now have hailstones. So actually, although it's only mid-April, that is not a bad display of bluebells. Beautiful. Well, we certainly found the bluebells. That's what we set out to do. Isn't that amazing? Interesting. Not seen these here before. There's usually piles of logs along here, but this is brush. I guess, do they make that? I don't know. What do they make with that? They make the old-fashioned brushes, but I don't know if that's what they're for. More usual that we get piles of logs. Anyway, we have left Ashmore Woods behind with its beautiful bluebells and beech foliage. Perfect combination, spring green of beech with the wonderful spring blue of bluebells. I hope the film will come out okay on the video. Bluebells don't always come out that well because cameras tend to record blues a little bit off unless you use filters. Anyway, hopefully it'll be alright. Certainly beautiful there. But I've now left that behind. I'm making my way towards Ashmore Village, and I see a nice rake field up ahead, and we are walking on a road with an interesting name, or a track with an interesting name, because this is called Halfpenny Lane, as in halfpenny, Halfpenny Lane. And I was intrigued by the name. I don't know specifically about this road or its history, but what I do know is that often halfpenny lanes, when they're called that, it dates back to the days of droving cattle, and they were like drove roads, taking cattle to market and so on, and often they used to get charged a halfpenny to drive the cattle down the lane. And so I think that's where the name Halfpenny Lane comes from often, and I assume that applies to this one. As I say, I don't know, I've not specifically seen an explanation for this one's name, but there are others that that's the reason they were called it. You can see by the sky up ahead there's probably more rain coming. I love this lane though, it's so nice. Ooh. It's a skylark. Yeah, such a lovely lane this is to walk, especially with these beautiful rape fields. Awesome. But a funny day actually, as we've had quite a lot of showers in between, and quite often I've had to wait for the shower to go for the sun to come out again so I can start filming again, because I really wanted to get the bluebells and so on with the sun out, because it does bring out the colours. Anyway, we succeeded, and so far it's been really good. I think I'm nearly 8 miles into the walk already, and would you believe I've had lunch. This is a this is a good one even for me, because it's at least 3 o'clock I think. Hey ho, I shall stop in a minute. So I think it's raining over there. Look at those streaky clouds. I think that's heavy rain coming down. Fortunately, not where I am. I think I might be about to get wet. As the sun is about to disappear behind these heavy clouds. So I've arrived at Ashmore, but as it's raining, I'll have a quick pop into the church. If it's open, it looks like they're having work done, but I'm hoping by the time we've been in here and had a look round, the sun will be out again. I don't know how well this will come out because it's really dark in here. It's pouring with rain outside, so it's quite appropriate to be in here, I think, bit of sanctuary. But this is the Church of St. Nicholas at Ashmore, which I think has 13th century remnants, but as with many of our churches, it's been altered, rebuilt and adapted and modernised, that sort of thing, down through the centuries, so there's not an awful lot of the old which is visible. But it's a nice little church nonetheless. Well, good job I sheltered in the church. It's still raining. Well, that worked out pretty well. Good timing to get here, just as the rain came on. And as you can see, it's now blue sky again, so the sun should be out any minute. Right, so the path doesn't actually go down right into the centre of Ashmore, but I'm going to take a detour because it's a pretty village and its main feature is in the centre. So we leave behind the Church of St. Nicholas and a little detour down the road before we rejoin our path. So this is Ashmore. It's the other church. That's the Wesleyan Chapel, I think, which is now a private dwelling. So we're just heading down to the centre and then going to reverse and come back up the same way again to find our path onwards. But you see how much rain we had in that short time while I was eating lunch. I'd forgotten that was there. I could have had lunch in here, couldn't I? Oh well, never mind. But yes, a pretty village. Some lovely thatched cottages. And its main feature probably is its village pond. Perfectly circular pond. And interestingly, of course, this is where Ashmore got its name from, because Ashmore is a derivative, I think, of ash and mere. Mere meaning pond. So I guess there must have been ash trees, maybe, around the pond. I don't know. Anyway, that's where it gets its name from. And this is a pond with a heritage. In fact, Ashmore is actually apparently the highest village in Dorset, at 220 metres high. And there's a ancient celebration that takes place, or took place, around this village pond, and it's called Filly Loo. It's a kind of midsummer celebration around about the summer solstice, and the history of it, not really sure. I think some think it's to celebrate the water supply, which is why it takes place around the pond. Some think it's to celebrate the end of the hazelnut harvest. Some think it's to celebrate the summer solstice. So I don't think there's a definitive answer that I've been able to find, not even on the village website. But the celebrations still continue. Filly Loo is still celebrated. Takes the form these days of a kind of, I guess, a modern fete or folk festival that takes place on an evening around about the summer solstice time, and that still happens today. And there's quite a nice seat beside the pond here, reflect a while, which is where I quite often sit and have lunch if I'm doing this walk, because it looks straight out onto the pond, which is rather pretty. But today it would have been quite wet. Well, we'll have to leave the village pond. The sun hasn't made an appearance again yet, but we need to move on. So we've left Ashmore behind. I'm now going to head down this track here, across the field of sheep, which is significant, as you'll see in a minute. Now, the reason I said sheep are significant is because this track here leads down into a valley which is called Shepherd's Bottom. and it's a place I love, not just because of its quirky name, Shepherd's Bottom, but it's just a lovely place. And every time I come here there are sheep, so I think this is in fact you see even across the other side, up on the hill the other side, there are sheep as well. I think this is a age-old shepherding sheep area, and hence presumably where Shepherd's Bottom got its name from. And it's cool to see that it still goes on, because let's face it, sheep are better than cows, aren't they? And this is Shepherd's Bottom, which we're about to drop down into, but we have to go up the end and then turn left. We have to skirt around the outside of the field because that's where the footpath goes. So we'll head into the sheep. So we're nearly down the bottom. And of course we've got to climb up the other side. Nice bit of woodlands. Wonder what's under there. It's concrete, so no way you could lift that up, but intrigued to know. Could be a secret tunnel that comes out, don't know where. Right, upwards. So that's Shepherd's Bottom. Let's come back up the other side, and we're going to head away from it now. Such a nice valley, and it is of course the second time today that we've crossed it. We were further down that end earlier on when I said there was a lovely valley that I liked. That was the other end of Shepherd's Bottom. So we've crossed it twice. And now we've got to say goodbye to it. And head off up here. That's another cool old tree. All twisty and gnarly. Wonderful. It's almost as if he's reaching out to me asking for a hug. Don't know if you're a tree hugger, but I think it's quite nice to do sometimes. Can't get in there though, unfortunately. It's too brambly. So we've now reached Compton Abbas airfield, which is getting on towards the finish point now. The airfield itself is up over there. Don't know if you could see that. I couldn't see the screen. Anyway, that's where the airfield is. The way to finish the walk normally would be across the airfield runway, because there's a footpath across it, and then a footpath back to the car the other side, which is the nicer way to go. But I'm not going that way today. The sun's not made an appearance again, and heavy clouds set in and it keeps raining. Plus I've already gone past the 10-mile mark anyway today, so I've decided that I'm going to follow the road back, which I sometimes take anyway because the airfield entrance is down here, and had it been earlier I could have stopped at the cafe and got a cup of tea, but I think it'll be closed now, so I think I'm going to be too late anyway for that, so I shall just continue back to the car before the next bout of rain comes, although it does look like there might be some blue sky up there. Who knows? As I thought, it is closed. I guess the airfield's claim to fame is that it was the escape route, or part of the escape route, of Azil Nadir. He was chief exec of Polypec, and when the company went down, he was accused of fraud, numerous counts of fraud, multi-million pounds of fraud. But before he could face those charges, he escaped from the country and he flew out from Compton Abbas airfield to France, and then he went on to Cyprus, and I think he spent 17 years out there before eventually he returned to England again to face the charges. He was found guilty and sentenced to 10 years imprisonment, served 4 years in the UK I think, and was then exported to Turkey, which is where he was from, to serve the rest of his sentence in Turkey. One day after he got back there, he was released. So he served 1 day of the remaining sentence in Turkey before he was released. Anyway, so that's the claim to fame of Compton Abbas airfield. And I suppose its more recent claim to fame is that it's been bought not long ago by Guy Ritchie. You'd have seen the van back there which had Ritchie on it. Guy Ritchie bought the airfield and now owns it. He is a film producer, writer, director, etc., who actually lives locally, lives not far away in a mansion. Anyway, so he now owns the airfield, and it's a great place to get a cup of tea. Had they been open on a nice day, you can sit outside on the tables and watch the planes come and go while you have tea and cakes. So that would have been a great way to end the day, but unfortunately not today. Never mind, next time. Well, would you believe it? The sun has made an appearance just in time for me to sign off the video. That's good timing, sun, but it's nice to have it anyway. So yes, I'm going to sign off the video now because I'm heading back to the car. I'm only a short trip away from it. I'm already 10 3/4 miles in, so it's going to be 11 by the time I reach the car. So that's a really good day's walk, and I've loved it despite the changeable weather. In fact, maybe almost because of the changeable weather. But I'm so glad I got to film the Bluebell woods at Ashmore while the sun was out. I think that was brilliant. And yeah, it's just been such a great walk. I always loved walking this area. Anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for coming with me. I've had a ball. Fantastic day, and I'm just so glad I came out, even though the forecast was a bit suspect. So yes, thanks for coming with me. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've loved it, as always, of course. And as always, this is me, the Dorset Rambler, saying, until next time,